The National FFA organization, formerly Future Farmers of America, is an organization founded here in Missouri over 80 years ago. In that time, millions of ag students from across the country have donned the familiar blue and gold as they learn to do to learn, earn to live, and live to serve. National FFA Week is this month, next on Show Me Ag. Welcome to Show Me Ag. I'm your host, Kyle Vickers. Thanks for joining us. Since 1928, when 33 young farm boys gathered at Kansas City's Baltimore Hotel, the Future Farmers of America has grown to all 50 states. Coupled with vocational agriculture education, FFA is one of the largest youth organizations in America. Today, the organization is expanding the nation's view of traditional agriculture and finding new ways to infuse agriculture into the classroom. Our guests tonight are Jill Blankenship of Eldon, Missouri. She's the current Vice President, Missouri FFA Area 8, and Kollen Chapman of Osceola, Missouri, current Vice President of Area 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I was an FFA member back in high school a long time ago when it was all boys, so Jill, I'm glad that they did make some changes there, and it's grown quite a bit bigger than it was when I was in high school. Tell us a little bit about where FFA is today.
FFA nationally has over a half a million members. So nationwide we have over 0.5 million, and Missouri FFA today has 25,000 FFA members.
That's outstanding. I think it's more than double it was just a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And Kollen, tell us a little bit about, you're from Osceola, Missouri.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your FFA history.
My FFA history, kind of graduated from Osceola High School last year, and with that I did a lot of contest teams, public speaking events, career development events, things like forestry and parliamentary procedures, things like that, and grew up on our local farm. We had strawberry production and a few beef cattle, but our main focus was cutting firewood for barbecues, Supply Gates Barbecue. So.
Oh, to Supply Gates, yes. A nationally known barbecue place.
Yes.
And Jill, you grew up around Eldon, Missouri?
Yes, I grew up in High Point, Missouri, a small community outside of Eldon, on a family farm with my parents and my sisters, and we had a diversified farm with row crop and livestock, and we baled hay in the summer. So.
And both of you are serving as state FFA officers, which is a really busy year, but also going to college as freshmen in college. You've got a pretty busy schedule. Go ahead, Kollen. Go ahead.
Yes, I go to Missouri State University in Springfield, Missouri. I major in ag business, sales, and marketing. It's a tough balance, but they really work with us to be able to do the leadership things that we want to do and still continue that first year of college. So it's a great experience to be able to have.
And Jill, you're at the University of Missouri?
Yes, I'm at Mizzou in Columbia, and I'm majoring in agriculture education with a teaching certificate. And just like Kollen said, they are so great with working with our schedules to make sure that we have the opportunity to inspire FFA members and still have our college education at the same time.
We'll come back and talk a little bit more, but before we continue our conversation, we made a visit to Sweet Springs, Missouri, and their FFA chapter, currently designated the #1 chapter in Missouri. And despite having a population under 2,000, this community has helped their chapter to 4 straight #1 rankings in our state since 2008.
The Sweet Springs FFA chapter was actually one of the original chapters chartered in Missouri way back in 1929, so we're one of the original 45 chapters. So we have a very long tradition. We've obviously changed over the years, much like many FFA chapters have, and we've been fortunate enough that we've just continued to grow over the years, and we went from traditional production agriculture to we're more modern day in ag business and ag literacy and expanding like other places are as well.
There is such a rich history of success and contest teams and just a tradition of helping the community and having community support and just being all about agriculture and the kids in this program.
The FFA chapter at Sweet Springs has always been a very solid, competitive chapter in everything that they've done. One of the things that after I began teaching here, Mr. Hill and I talked about is we needed to be more aggressive as far as getting the recognition that we felt that our students deserve. And in a previous year, We actually were the #1 chapter way back in 1934, but between the long stretch there, we really hadn't received a lot of recognition as an individual chapter. We'd had a lot of accomplishments, and then I guess probably about 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, we just kind of started our climb and started looking at what did we need to do so that we could be in position where we could be one of the top 10 chapters in the state. That was our first goal, and we got to where I remember when we were the 14th chapter in the state, and we thought that we were just on cloud 9. We were so proud to be the 14th ranked chapter. And then the next year we got to the 10th ranked chapter and thought, okay, what can we do? So we started improving some community service projects. And then the next thing, we were the 7th place chapter, and honestly we made the comment that year that we couldn't be any better. We were just so excited. We were so proud of the kids. We were so proud for the community. And then we were fortunate enough to get the 2nd place chapter. And we kind of joked around and said, well, the only thing about being 2nd place is we probably only have one place to go, and that was down. Because we thought, well, that was just the elite, and that year we had lost to Troy was the #1 chapter, and Troy is a legendary program in the state. They have anywhere upwards of maybe 500 members, where we have 150 total students in the high school. And then so when we were able to receive the #1 chapter, which was actually Mr. Hill's last year, had he even considered staying another year? Like he said, I'm leaving now just because he wanted to go out on top, which, joking around, all joking aside, it was a huge accomplishment for us. And it wasn't so much that we hadn't been doing things before. I think we just started pushing ourselves a little bit more and, really evaluating where can we improve, where can we get better, what can we make our chapter improve on, and we really just kept continuing to do that and have continued for the last 3 or 4 years. And once we got that first place chapter, then I think the kids really took ownership in it and said, hey, I want to win first again. And then we won first again, and last year's seniors were very proud and were very stuck all year on the fact that they wanted to be able to say that they were the #1 chapter in the state all 4 years they were in high school. So those kids were willing to do anything and everything they could to make sure that we were able to hold that place.
But I have to say, none of this would happen without the kids, and that's what this is all about. Even the National FFA organization, they have 500,000 FFA members across the United States. Without the local members at the local level, there wouldn't be an organization. We wouldn't have area officers, we wouldn't have state officers, we wouldn't have national officers if it wasn't for what happens here on the local level. And for the kids to understand that this is their program, they take initiative and they take ownership in it. And if they didn't take ownership in it, it wouldn't be near as successful as it is.
FFA has always been something that's really important to me, and especially now as a state officer representing Area 6, I represent all the chapters here, which include Sweet Springs. And Sweet Springs has been a successful chapter for a really long time, and just this past year really taken on a personal interest for me representing the area, and it's really meant a lot to me to be able to see the students here succeed just over the past year and see what they've done, and to continue to cultivate that rich history that this chapter really has.
Success will breed success. If you look at the history out here on the walls, these kids see what's happened. And we've been blessed this last year to have a National FFA Creed speaker go to state, win nationals, and come back. And that's kind of set a fire with the rest of the kids that they want to be that good. They want to keep going. So setting the example and keeping it going. And yes, programs are going to change. There's going to be ag advisors that move on to another department, or there's going to be kids that leave. But as long as there's something there, a fire burning, or my ag teacher, I can quote Mr. Campbell, he always said, I'm going to light a fire under that person, and that hopefully that person's going to pass that fire on to somebody else. So it's kind of like a wildfire. If you start it, then hopefully it's just going to have enough embers and it's going to keep going.
Well, I think every year you're always trying to reach your peak, always trying to do the best that you can. I think I mentioned earlier with me and Mr. Hill, our goal, we always wanted to be at least to where we were in the hunt to be one of the top 10 programs in the state. And I think there's so many great programs in the state that, if you're in the top 10, quite frankly, you've done something special. If we're number 9 next year, number 10 next year, sure, some people will be disappointed, and yeah, it doesn't have that ring of being number 1, but I guarantee you I'm going to be very proud because I know what it takes just to be in the top 10. And so each year I think we continue to still want to improve. At some point there's going to be a year we won't be the quote-unquote #1 chapter. That doesn't mean we're a bad chapter. That just means, okay, now we got to get back to work. What can we do to make us better? There's so many great chapters out there, and there's so many great communities in Missouri, but I think one of the things that really has been very beneficial to our chapter is just our outstanding community support. Even before we were honored to be recognized as the #1 chapter in the state, I took a lot of great pride in having the opportunity to be an advisor here at Sweet Springs. You know, being able to work side by side with Mr. Hill taught me so much. And one of the things I learned right away was that the kids in the community really took ownership in the chapter. It wasn't a club, it wasn't a group, it wasn't just an organization. You know, it had its own identity in the fact that you know, people took pride in the FFA chapter. And I think that it wasn't just that kids wanted to be competitive or they wanted to do this activity. You know, they wanted to represent the FFA chapter. They wanted to represent the Sweet Springs FFA chapter, and they took a lot of pride in that. And I think right away that gave me a lot of pride. You know, I was fortunate enough to come from a chapter, Bowling Green, that also had a good tradition, and I think that gave me kind of a good foundation to start from. It meant a lot to me. You know, it's one of the things that I still look on. You know, each year when kids will be going to this activity or that activity, you know, a memory will sparkle. I remember doing that, and I remember what impression that had on me. You know, I can remember being a freshman and being nervous to speak, and I remember being in the Creed contest, and I was no exceptional Creed speaker, but it kind of set that foundation, that work to help me know, hey, I can do this. You know, I might not be great at this, but if I keep working, I can get better, and I can have a lot of success. And so I consider myself not a teacher that teaches at Sweet Springs, but a member of the Sweet Springs community. And I'm very proud to say that I am a member of the Sweet Springs community.
Well, we saw there on the video, obviously they've got a great program going, but kids in horticulture, apparently in a building trades or construction class out in the shop. Talk to us a little bit, Jill, about the relationship between vocational agriculture classes that are a part of the curriculum at school and FFA.
Well, FFA in agriculture belong to a program called the Three Circles. You cannot have an FFA program without a strong educational background. So the basis of all FFA programs, at least most of the program that I came from at Eldon, is based on the three circles of your SAE, which is your Supervised Agriculture Experience program, the FFA, which is the leadership side of the program, and then your classroom curriculum. So vocational agriculture is just not even possible without the background of the SAE and the FFA. They all work together so well, and what makes FFA so great is the fact that everyone has that same background in the agriculture curriculum.
So you've got a classroom experience, you've got a at home or at work experience,
right,
and then you've got FFA. Kollen, tell us a little bit. You mentioned that you guys sold strawberries and firewood. That was your SAE, is that right?
Yes, and that's kind of the whole process of the SAE, and it's learning about financial and being able to time management, because it wasn't just the strawberries, but you had to take care of the wood and making sure that got up to Kansas City, and you kept the relationship of being a business person and being able to make sure that you're doing all the financial things, and it really teaches you, and it's diverse. I mean, other organizations out there are really great to be in, but I feel FFA really brings it all together because you're learning about that financial stuff. You have your classroom, and then you have your leadership, and I think that three-circle model just really brings it all together and makes it that great organization that we have.
For those of us from a previous generation, or maybe a couple of generations ago, Future Farmers of America was the name, but a few years ago they changed that, just shortened it, known by FFA, because the program has really changed from trying to prepare people to go back to the farm to something really different, hasn't it, Jill?
Right. In 1988, I think, they changed from Future Farmers of America to the National FFA organization, because the program, like in your generation, was really everyone that was going back to the farm. And I can say that both Kollen and I, even though agriculture is always going to be a background in our life, our plan is not to go back to the farm. We're looking to get into the agribusiness side or the horticulture side. And then a section of the organization that's really starting to boom would be the agri-science side, people who are doing more experiments with nutrition and modified genetic organisms and plants and things like that.
And really, you've had a lot of growth. I think it went from 10 or 12,000 in Missouri to 25,000 now.
Right.
A lot of that has occurred in urban areas. I know Columbia, Missouri's got a big FFA chapter. Also, some of the urban areas have pretty sizable VOAG programs with FFA.
Yeah, I mean, just right around here in the area, in our district, I think we've noticed a big jump, and that's kind of helped our numbers of that 25,000, another record-breaking year for Missouri. I mean, just in my area officer year a couple years ago, we chartered 4 schools right around this Warrensburg area, Belton being one of them. Jill had one this year over at Warsaw. I mean, we're just really expanding out and not just staying in the rural towns, but we're really expanding. That's helping us keep in those record-breaking years of 25,000 members plus.
There's really a push nationally and in Missouri to prepare people for jobs because right now we have a lot of jobless people, but there are a lot of jobs that are going unfilled because people don't have the right training. So this is really a part of that program, isn't it?
Right. Career education is so important. Most of the time your FFA programs will be put into something like your technical education, and along with like building trades and business classes. So it's so important that career education is taken seriously in high school, because you can go into things like a tech school or community college and get that training that you need right out of high school instead of pursuing the 4-year degree.
I know the curriculums have been changed in our high schools. Especially for college admission, people have got to really stay on a pretty high academic track. How are you able to fit all this work in? You working at home, taking VOAG and FFA, and I'm sure you're in other school activities as well. How did all that work to prepare you for college?
Well, I think it really helped, because, I mean, you're getting out there in the real world and being able to experience, like you say, I was in sports and other curricular activities such as FFA, FBLA, different things like that, and then having to be able to go home and have that worth ethic and mentality of, okay, the cows, the strawberries need to be picked, and if I don't get this done, then, you know, that's what you're dependent on to keep that SAE, and that comes right back to the schooling and being able to get awards and stuff right here in FFA. And I think the FFA really gives you that mentality of the good work ethic and the morals and values that you need to be able to go out into.
It doesn't sound like you spent much time playing video games.
No, I didn't.
And Jill, how about you? You're a freshman at MU, you're at a huge campus. Did you feel pretty well prepared to go to campus of 25,000 undergrads at Columbia and compete?
It was definitely a change, because my high school has a little over like 500 students, so we definitely weren't large. But just the FFA program is a lot like campus, because you just have to find your clique. So you go from, the school is 25,000, and then Kaffner, the ag school, is a little bit smaller, and then you have to pick your organization and your major, which is even smaller. So you just have to pick what niche you wanted to be on, and I think FFA really helps me with that. I could be a part of the local chapter, or I could be a part of the state organization, as I am with state office, or you can jump in and be a part of the national organization.
I know at MU you're probably surrounded by people from suburban St. Louis and Kansas City. Do you get an opportunity to talk to them a little bit about agriculture?
I actually have the opportunity to live on the pre-vet floor in the dormitories, and so we get lots of questions about things that you would think that they know, that they're more small animal, and so they don't understand the vast majority of what a cow does, or what the purpose of a pig is, not just to look cute, you know, like that's more of your food process. And so it is interesting to get to speak to those different people and get those different viewpoints of what they thought agriculture was and what it really is.
I'm guessing if you're on the pre-vet floor where your residents are, it's a pretty quiet spot.
Yeah.
Those people are pretty serious.
Yeah, they're definitely serious.
And you're at Missouri State. Did you feel like your high school and your college, or your high school and FFA prepared you for college? And you're in an ag program, right?
Yes. I feel like it really prepared me. I mean, I had really good counselors and stuff prepare me, and my ag teacher get me ready for college down there. And it's kind of a smaller program than what Jill has down at Missouri State, but they've been growing the last few years of having some donations from the Jernigan family with a 3,500 acre ranch that we received there, and some purebred Hereford cattle. And it's really helped the program out, and I feel like it's just like kind of like my ag program back home. It's really a tight-knit group, and it's really great to be a part of. So.
I know Missouri State's got a great little farm right out kind of on the edge of Springfield. It's always a surprise to be driving through Springfield and go by the SMS farm.
Yes, it's right there, but now the town's kind of surrounded it, so they kind of get a little piece of agriculture right in Springfield with the Herefords.
You guys have been through a lot of different FFA activities, and I'm sure it's led to a lot of things for you. In terms of your personal development, what's the most important thing that you've gotten out of being an FFA, Jill?
What's the most important thing? I'd say that just how to be self-confident. You know, like, you have the capability to do whatever you set your mind to. If you want to be chapter president, then you just have to go for it. And you have to have that self-confidence that no matter what happens, I'm going to succeed, or I'm going to improve myself. I had the opportunity to be on the National Parliamentary Procedure team, and then also a national contest competitor for agriculture sales. And so that was just one of those two things that I decided that I was going to step up and do it. And I had the self-confidence and the teamwork capabilities to get up and do the work that it took to succeed.
Well, now, I think some of the things we've talked about are pretty self-explanatory, but let's get an explanation of the Parliamentary Procedure Team. Colin, can you tell us a little bit? You were also on a parliamentary team. Go ahead.
I was on a Parliamentary Procedure Team as well. It was our first time as a chapter competing on parliamentary procedures, and whenever we first watched a tape of a national competing team, like one of Jill's, it kind of was mind-blowing of how fast they talked and they went through the rules and the motions, and it was overwhelming. And then we kind of got sat down and we were learning about them, about how to be able to make that motion and how to be able to correctly use that meeting and effectively get the use out of it. And so you're not like in one of those 3-hour meetings and your mind is all over the place. And it was just neat to be a part of. So,
having been on a parliamentary procedure team a long time ago and then having to sit through lots of meetings, I find it very valuable to have some order to how to conduct a meeting. What about you? What for you, Colin, is the most important personal development thing that's come out of your FFA career?
Well, I think going back to the morals and values, being able to just stay true to myself and knowing that if I want to put my mind to something like Jill, and I had with my my forestry project, went to nationals and producing the wood and taking care of it, and it was just something that had been part of my family since I was born. We had been supplying Gates Barbecue. My grandfather did it, and now my dad does it, and it was just something me and my brother swear we're not going to cut wood for the rest of our life, but it's just something that is great to be a part of, to know that it's a business thing and it's a family thing, and it was really great to be a part of.
You guys have obviously been outstanding members. You wouldn't get to be in the state FFA officer position, but it's a great year, isn't it? Tell me a little bit about your state officer year, and have you gotten to travel and do some exciting things?
Well, state officer year starts the day after convention. People think, it doesn't start till the following school year, but the day after convention, we start our first 5-hour meeting, and we are going from there. And so over the summer, Kollen and I both had the opportunity to travel to Springfield, Illinois for a leadership conference with other state officers across the country. And then we have FFA camp, Missouri State FFA camp every year, and I spent 2 weeks there. Did you spend 2 weeks?
I spent 2 weeks too.
So we spent 2 weeks at State FFA camp, and then Kollen and I were 2 of the 4 officers that were able to travel to northern Iowa to meet with President Obama on a Rural Community Development Association meeting. So that was really interesting.
I'm going to guess that maybe is the only time you've gotten to meet a president.
Yeah, that'd be correct.
And then yesterday you were in Jefferson City meeting with state legislators as well.
Yeah, that was another great experience. It was Legislative Day up there at the Capitol. And so the whole team got up there and we spent the day. Our president of Missouri FFA got the opportunity to speak on the House floor, which is a tremendous opportunity for a youth organization and our president to be able to do that. And I think they were thoroughly impressed. And then we got to listen to them debate, and then we went over to the Senate, listened to them a little bit, and then we had lunch with them, and we got to talk to our own representatives and senators, and it was just a great experience to be able to do that.
These are unusual opportunities for somebody your age and so on, and especially coming from a little town like Osceola or even Eldon, which is a little bigger. It is quite an opportunity. And I'd like to say, I believe there are several FFA alumni that are in the state legislature, including Senator Pearson, who represents this area, who's a former state president, or Pierce, I believe it is.
Pierce.
Who's a former state president and national FFA officer. So that had to be fun.
Right. My Representative Caleb Jones is actually an alumni of my area as well.
So let's talk a little bit about your future plans. You're hoping to be an ag teacher?
Yes, I'm getting a teaching certificate, and my plans either include going back to the classroom or even working for a commodities group and trying to educate the adult public, but agriculture education will definitely be in my future.
And how about you? You're in a sales and business type of program?
Yeah, just learning about a lot of my classes right now are economics of agriculture and marketing and selling agriculture products. So whether that be working for like Monsanto or Pioneer or any company like that of selling a product of agriculture.
I know one of your missions is to communicate about agriculture in general and to an urban community that's more and more separated from their food supply. I'll give you a chance here at the end of our program. What do you have to say to people who come from an urban area, not much connection to agriculture? What's the message, Kollen, that you would like to give to them?
Well, I like to, since we've changed our name from Future Farmers of America, we've gotten a lot broader with just the National FFA organization, that we're just not a farm organization. We're doing that leadership, and like a lot of my friends from our home chapters are right in town, but they still care about agriculture, and it doesn't matter whether you come from and you're raising those hogs or the cattle. You can be an FFA, you can be a FFA alumni supporter of FFA and support the kids, as long as you're caring about agriculture and its future.
And how about you, Jill? What would you have to say to consumers?
I think what I'd say is just to be careful about where you get your information from. So many times people are putting out information that's false, and so have that open mind to find out what the actual truth is, because agriculture it affects us every day. I hope every day you take the time to eat a meal, and so every time you do.
That's pretty obvious, Jill. Thanks for bringing that up.
So every time you do, you need to be conscious of where that food came from, and to know that agriculture is going to be around. It's been around yesterday, it's going to be around tomorrow, and so it's a program that really needs to be important.
As you're traveling around, do you find some misconceptions about agriculture and how, because people really don't know what goes on a farm?
Oh yeah, there's misconceptions out there all the time, and I think that's part of our job as being state officers, of representing our areas. And if we're out there, and we need to be able to have the time to sit down and talk with that person and kind of tell them a little bit about what we do, what agriculture is about, and that's kind of part of our job title, is being able to do things like that.
Well, my compliments to you both. You're both very well spoken, and I think going to represent agriculture very well in your future. And best of luck to you in your college career and in your career after that. So I feel like agriculture is in good hands if you're representative of the class that's coming along today.
Thank you.
I'm afraid that's all the time we have for tonight, but I'd like to say thanks again to Jill Blankenship and Kollen Chapman for being with us tonight, and thanks to everyone in Sweet Springs, the #1 chapter in Missouri, for letting us visit with them, and to their advisors, Kristen Fenner and Brent Niemeyer. And thank you, our viewers, for tuning in to Show Me Ag. We hope you'll tune in next time for another look at a topic touching rural Missouri. For everyone here at CAMWS and myself, good night.